Okay, real talk. Every year I swear I'm going to be better. Less wasteful, more conscious, make fewer sustainability fails. Yet here I am, wrestling with some bad habits. I mean, I'm doing my best, but there is always something that I could be doing better. And to make sure that I actually stick to my goals this year, I am going to share them right here with you. Hey everyone, I'm Amber from Sustainable Jungle, where we share sustainable tips, tricks, hacks, products, brands, and stories to better our planet. And today I'm getting a little bit more personal and sharing my own sustainable resolutions for the year ahead. Things that I've been meaning to tackle for a while, or things that I just haven't quite nailed down yet. Because just because I make YouTube videos and write articles on how to live more sustainably does not mean I am perfect at it. Far from it. Which is a really important reminder that sustainability is a journey that's all about progress and not perfection. And no matter how far along that personal journey we are, there is always something that every single one of us can be doing at least just a little bit better. So, why am I doing this? Well, maybe if I say it on here, I'll actually do it. And maybe I'm doing it to inspire you to join me on some of these. Think of it as part accountability check, part inspiration for anyone else looking to set their own sustainability goals for 2025. And if this is your first time here, welcome to Sustainable Jungle. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and turn on notifications so we can keep exploring more ways to live sustainably together in 2025 and beyond. All right, one of my biggest sustainability goals this coming year is to get better about unplugging devices, chargers, and appliances when I'm not using them. Why? Because phantom energy draw, also known as vampire power, is a sneaky culprit of unnecessary energy waste. So here's the deal. Even when our devices are turned off, but they're still plugged in, they consume electricity. In fact, about 75% of the electricity of some of these devices is consumed when these things aren't even on. Think things like phone chargers, coffee makers, gaming consoles, and even microwaves are all guilty of this. It's estimated that phantom energy can account for a total of 5 to 10% of a household's electricity use. Now let's put that into perspective. According to the US Department of Energy, the average US household spends about $100 annually on energy for devices that aren't even being used. That's $100 that you and me are just giving away to power nothing. Now, multiply that across millions of households, and we're talking billions of dollars and countless carbon emissions generated for energy that nobody is even using. So my plan is simple. Unplug chargers when my phone isn't charging, use power strips to make it easier to cut power to groups of devices, and set a reminder to unplug things like my coffee grinder and my blender after I've used them. Bonus, I can use that extra $100 to treat myself. My second goal for the new year is to tackle microplastics. Confession time. Laundry is not my thing. I despise it. Like, if I could outsource just one chore forever, this one would be it. But this year I'm making a commitment to finally get better about using microfiber filters on my washing machine. But first, a little backstory. So I've been working to reduce how many synthetic fibers I wear because organic fibers like organic cotton, linen, and wool are just better. Not only are they gentler on the body, and some research even suggests that they align more harmoniously with our body's natural frequencies, but as we all know here, they're also just much better for the environment. The problem is, despite my efforts, there are still synthetic fabrics in my life, whether they're recycled synthetics in my activewear or just old synthetic clothing that I've owned for years and years and years and will keep wearing until it wears out, because after all, the most sustainable fashion that we have is the fashion that we already own, organic or not. The trouble is that every time I wash these things, tiny plastic particles called microfibers shed off and they end up in our waterways, and eventually end up in every facet of the human body thanks to the food chain. Yay for eating our own laundry, right? Here's where the filter comes in. So microfiber filters like the Lint Love R or the Guppy Friend, which is the one that we promote a lot on our site, can catch up to 90% of these microfibers before they escape into the environment. So using one of these basically by putting all your laundry into it, or now they're also making some that you can install directly in your washing machine, but it kind of depends on which machine you have, is a big win for the environment. Now, you might be wondering why I haven't done this yet. Well, here's the thing. I live in a really tiny house and my washer drum is also my hamper. So when it's time to do laundry, I already have to take everything out of the drum. I would have to load it into a microfiber bag and then I would have to reload it in the washer. So it's kind of just an extra step for someone like me who already finds laundry completely soul-sucking. But this year I'm determined to suck it up, no pun intended, and do better. All right, let's talk about one of my biggest weaknesses, craft supplies. I'm a big crafter. I actually run an upcycled crafting business on Etsy, and then I'm also a really avid hobby embroiderer and weaver, so naturally I have a lot of craft supplies. Like, a lot. And here's the problem, no matter how many supplies I have, I always seem to convince myself I need more. Oh, look, another set of embroidery hoops on sale? Even though I already have 20 empty ones at home, don't mind if I do. These sizes are so much more useful after all. Or embroidery floss. Sure, I totally already own literally hundreds of colors, but somehow I never seem to have the perfect shade for the project that I'm working on. But this year, I am setting a goal to use the craft supplies I already have before buying more. And it's not just about avoiding waste, but that is a big part of it. It's also just about getting creative with what I've got. For example, instead of buying a specific shade of floss, can I practice blending or maybe layering another color to achieve the same effect? Or instead of picking up yet another pack of yarn for my weaving, I can challenge myself to make something unique out of my leftovers. And I do hang on to all of my scraps because I do try to use everything until it's completely out, but it just doesn't stop me from buying more. Plus, I'm majorly running out of space to store these supplies, so I'm really hoping that I can get that a little bit under control. And honestly, this one is going to be really tough for me because craft supplies are basically my kryptonite. I'm pretty good at avoiding impulse purchases in general, but if you dangle some half-price yarn or thrift store bed sheets that make for perfect embroidery fabric in front of me, I am weak. So I'm setting some rules. Before I buy anything new, I'll check my stash to make sure I really, truly don't have something that will work. Wish me luck. I'm gonna need it. Another one of my goals this year is to bike more. Sounds simple enough, right? I live in a town that's basically 1 mile from end to end, which means that I should be biking everywhere. And yet I drive most of the time. What makes it even worse? I only go like 4 places regularly. The grocery store, the post office, the hardware store, and my community garden. And that's it. 4 places, and yet somehow I manage to justify hopping in the car every time. There's always an excuse. I'm getting too many groceries, or my harvest is going to be too big to shove in my backpack. Oh, and let's not forget the hill to the post office, an absolute monster that turns any errand into a sweaty struggle session. And to be fair to myself though, I do live in Wyoming in a town where there's not really any official road maintenance crew. So when I say that we literally have foot-thick sheets of ice on the road by the end of winter, I'm not exaggerating even a little bit. And I do not own a studded fat tire bike. So I'm not expecting myself to bike in the winter because when the weather's not good and it's really just not going to be safe out there on the roads for me, but when the weather is nice and it is safe, I am going to bike more. And maybe I'll finally invest in a good set of panniers or a bike trailer because balancing butternut squash on handlebars is a recipe for disaster. And the hill to the post office? I could always use a little bit more cardio and I really don't like running, so it's better than that, right? All right, let's talk about the digital clutter monster that is my email inboxes. This year, I'm setting a goal to get control of these and stay on top of them, and it's not just for my own personal sanity. Did you know that storing and sending emails actually uses energy? Yep. All those unread spam emails and newsletters that you never open are sitting in a server somewhere sending energy. And that's on top of the energy that it took to send them to you in the first place. It's estimated that the average email emits 4 grams of CO2, and that's for a primarily text-based email. If you're talking about an email with large images or attachments, that's going to jump up to about 50 grams. Now, you multiply that by billions of emails sent every single day, it is a huge environmental issue that most of us don't even think about. All told, a typical year of incoming mail for a business user can create a carbon footprint of around 135 kilograms of CO2. Now, between my various jobs and my business, I have 4 email addresses. 4. Which sounds absurd. Trust me, I hate it. And my personal inbox is the worst offender, because it's the only one that I'm, not obligated to respond to emails in. It's where all of my spam lives, it's sales I don't care about, newsletters that I forgot I subscribed to, and of course the random congrats you've won scams. Now, I know, there's no excuse for this, it's pure laziness, and it's gotten out of hand. So I already touched on the energy and the CO2 that's needed to send these emails. Hooray, more reason to hate spam, because we can't really do a lot about most of that. But the thing is that storing them also takes up space on the servers in the data centers where all those emails live, because they don't just live in your phone or live on your computer. And currently there are more than 7,000 data centers worldwide, which account for 1 to 1.5% of global electricity use and around 1% of the world's energy-related CO2 emissions. Now, it's estimated that their energy consumption could double from 2022 levels to 1,000 terawatt hours by 2026. That's only a year away at this point. So this year, I'm committed to finally tackling this, at least in the areas that I can control. So step 1 is to unsubscribe from every newsletter that I don't read or business mailing list that I have no idea how I even got on. And then step 2 is to delete as many of my old emails as possible, starting with all of the obvious spam. And then step 3 is to stay on top of it moving forward, because if I don't, the digital clutter will just creep back in and get overwhelming to where then all of a sudden I do have 3,000 emails in my inbox again. By keeping my inboxes tidy, I'm not only saving myself the headache of scrolling through hundreds and hundreds of useless emails to find that one that I need to reference from 3 months ago, but I'm also reducing my digital carbon footprint. And a clean inbox just feels lighter, you know? Like a breath of fresh air for your brain. My next goal for myself is to buy fewer things from the grocery store. Now, this is actually a really long-running goal for me because every single year I aim to become just a little bit more self-sufficient here at my backyard homestead. Now, if you're not quite sure what that looks like, you can check out my day in the life video that I posted here on this channel, where I kind of detail what that looks like and how I live as self-sufficiently as possible in a 400 square foot tiny house. So this year, after years of saying I was going to, I finally got into the habit of making my own bread. So now I make sourdough bread about once or twice a week, and I have not bought store-bought bread since March, maybe, and it feels really good. So I already buy pretty much no produce at the grocery store because I grow my own, and I source things like meat and dairy from local or more sustainable sources when I can, which usually means in the summer and fall because that's when the farmers market's active, that's when goats are actually producing milk. And right now I would love to make my own dairy products, but unfortunately, having my own milk goats is not something that's currently in the cards where I live, but I am going to try to be more mindful about procuring local milk when it's in season and then freezing it and saving it for the winter that next year, because once you freeze milk, it's not really that great to drink. The consistency gets a little weird, but you can turn it into cheese just fine. So that's just one less thing that I'm going to have to buy from the grocery store. That wraps up my goal list for 2025. I'm sure I'll come up with some others midway through the year, but I try not to get too optimistic at the beginning of the year because I find when you have really long goal lists, then it becomes overwhelming and you're less likely to accomplish any of them. So I'm trying to keep it small, definitive, and easy to keep track of if I'm actually achieving these goals. And remember, setting sustainability goals for the new year or at any time in your life is really all about progress and not perfection. Whether it's just something simple like unplugging devices to save energy, tackling the mountain of emails clogging up your inbox, biking instead of driving, or getting a little bit creative with your supplies, every small step adds up to a bigger impact. Sustainability is not about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing what you can with what you have. And sometimes that means challenging yourself to try harder or think differently about your habits, even when it's maybe just a little bit inconvenient. So here's to making 2025 the year of intentional, meaningful change without guilting ourselves for failing. I'm gonna do it myself, and I really hope that you'll join me. If you wanna help in our mission to spread the word, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel down below, as this really helps us grow and reach more people. This year is about to be new, but I'm still Amber from Sustainable Jungle. We're gonna be here next year, and I'm wishing you all a happy new year.